in many ways, it's almost essential. Because what it does, for one, talk about brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
If you recognize God as a creator,
Mm-hmm.
and that He is responsible for us, then it gives us a sense of there's a reason for living, there's a reason for being a part of this extended family. And education without purpose is, in many ways, just vanity. I mean, just, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand that you were given, that for one you're special, for another you have special gifts, but those gifts are not just to be used for your own pleasure and to be squandered. The more you're given, the more gifts you are given, the greater your responsibility is to share your gifts with all of God's children.
Mm-hmm.
But, as Muhammad mentioned, if you don't think, if you never had the opportunity to think, oh, it's not just me, it's me and God and the extended family, if you don't take time to think about that,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of activities out there that can keep you busy and your mind can just wander. And at some point in time, you say, why? Why? Because you never took the time to think. And like I said, there's lots of temptation for people to squander their money, their lives, and their time.
Looking at the current educational policy that exists and knowing in regard to there being some need for a radical reform, does it appear that it would justify the concern to make parents more in control of how their children are being educated?
I think that's good, but it goes back to what I said originally, you know. If you're going to give parents that control, then I still think the crust of it, the initial stage of it, is the parents also have to be educated.
So there should be a component to make them aware of what kind of power they have.
Exactly. That's where it all should begin. Because unfortunately, like you hear about it in the newspapers, you know, some of us, we might even visualize it, grow up around it. You literally have parents that are incorporated with their children in doing some of the evils, things that goes on in society.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, so what does that say in the sense of parenting? That if you're going to have a mother, perhaps that might be on a substance abuse, and then you got a son, perhaps that might be selling a substance abuse. So do you want to give that parent control of the destiny of other children or other educations, or of educating our youth? No, we have to really go on a mass urgency to try to find ways and try to find opportunities to make education the key.
And then what we're saying now is that, and as you and I have advocated, Jeff, in regard to giving parental involvement the opportunity for choice, it seems like even though we are emphasizing the need to structure a different way in which we educate our children, there is a social component that has to be provided for it as well.
You know, education is not just between some government entity and the child, nor is it just between the government entity or school and the child and the parent. Really, the whole community has to be involved. Education is a community project, and there are churches, synagogues, and mosques, and various other institutions in a community that really have to get involved to say, you know, it's not hands off, it's not their fault. We, all of us, in every aspect of our lives, and even the business community has a responsibility to speak out and provide guidance. What has happened in the last 50 years is it seems like all the different segments of the community have stepped back and said, well, we'll let them take care of it. That's unacceptable.
Well, now looking at the advantage that we have and understanding that the new governor, and if you're just tuning in, I'm here with Robert Schindler and Mr. Rahman Mohammed, and we're really just focusing on many of the aspects of what's being implied upon by the new governor. And, you know, I guess I can just take a little bit of, I guess, my personal influence to just add to the value of this conversation. Jeff, your brother, Brett Schindler, has been nominated to be the Commissioner of Education. Do you think that because a lot of the conversation that's been brought about, him specifically, in being a true reformer, that the kinds of attempts in terms of making sure that the community is aware of how important we should work as a community is going to be part of his particular platform?
I think it's going to be essential to his platform. Brett knows that it's very difficult to dictate from the top. It's kind of like pushing a string. Pushing a string is very difficult. The real movement in education has to be done at the community level. Now, it's going to be his job to let the community know you can do it. We are not going to be stepping in your way. The government is going to support the community